Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Maggie. And welcome to the M&M Debrief, the podcast where Mike and Maggie discuss the top stories in politics, sports, and pop culture to make sense of the headlines. Mike, do we have any follow-ups from the last episode?
Yeah, I have one follow up. I had mentioned something about IDF soldiers mocking Christian statues. There's been 2 episodes of that. Most recently, there was a couple guys who were sticking a cigarette in the mouth of one of the statues on one of the chapels or churches or whatever. Well, these 2 guys, the guy who took the picture and the guy who did it, got some time in the brig apparently. So 21 days for the soldiers and 14 days for the guy filming it. So apparently the IDF starting to crack down on this sort of stuff because it really looks bad.
Well, I have a little something to add to that. So there was an article, actually it's an opinion piece in the New York Times yesterday by Nicholas Kristof, and it is a very disturbing account of the systemic sexual torture of Palestinians by the IDF. So, ironically, while it's really, nice that they gave a 21-day prison time in the brig for those fellows who put a cigarette and made a mockery of some Christian statues. Apparently, what they're doing to the Palestinians is has been going on for a while. It is really disturbing, very disgusting. And I'm not saying Hamas and the Palestinian, themselves can be also violent and use rape as a tool, a weapon of torture. But apparently the IDF and the prison guards are just using, again, it's sexualized torture. And so I'm
Yeah,
sure we're going to hear more of that.
I've heard the same stuff, and I've heard some weird details, which we're not going to get into here.
Right.
Yeah, well, for those of you, the IDF are not angels. How about if we? I'll try to be kind. That I had heard something about a New York Times about something getting retracted. Is this the art or the opinion piece that everybody want retracted?
They may want it retracted, it's still there, and everybody should read it. Like I say, whatever you imagine it is, it's worse. And it is systemic, it's not isolated. And everybody knows about it, apparently. And nobody wants to talk about it because the victims obviously are
Yeah,
humiliated. But
yeah, we'll
it's
say
pretty
that.
bad.
Yeah, Hamas and Hezbollah are not the only groups of people doing bad things in the region. I guess is what we're
Right,
trying to say.
right. And again, I'd save this for another discussion, another episode, but
Mm,
you know, I'm eager to see how Israel is going to respond. We had Abu Ghraib, um,
right.
some years ago. So, you know, we're not angels either. But apparently, the Israeli settlers are getting in on the same type of approach too, with this sexualized torture. So, read the article. Read the article. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it.
Alrighty.
I have another codicil to that, if that's the right use of the word codicil.
Can I look it up? Can
Yes,
we put a
right.
pause on here? I can go look it up.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Addendum might also be used. I just saw this too, but apparently with Orban gone, he was the president of Hungary.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one who was holding up the EU's sanctions against Israeli settlers for their abuse and violence against the Palestinian farmers,
Mm-hmm.
over in the West Bank. And because Orban is gone, Magyar, the new president, is very supportive, and they have approved sanctions. So the EU, the European Union, can finally put sanctions on the Israeli settlers who are, again, they're identified as participating in this torture of Palestinians, but they're also going in there and stealing the land and shoving the Palestinians off their lands and basically abusing the Israeli Palestinians there
Mm-hmm.
because they want their land. So some horrible things happening that I'm ashamed that I haven't paid enough attention to before, but here we are.
Yeah, there's a few other things that'll probably happen in Europe now that Orban is out. I think for sure that money will probably start going to Ukraine. I think there was a loan package that was
Yes.
on hold, and they might even be. I don't. This is going on. This is a stretch, but they might even be closer to getting into the EU or getting into NATO. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but.
Hmm.
So anyway, the getting rid of Orban will open up a bunch of stuff.
All right, a little good news. All right, excellent. Thank you.
Now the guy and the new guy is still a right winger. But he's just not a maniac like the
He's
Orban.
just a normal right winger.
No, he's old school right winger.
Yeah,
Think of the '80s,
the good old days. Yeah,
the good old days. So anyway, let's see. We gonna hit the war here, I guess.
I guess so.
Let's see. All right. So what I got is I got a number of things. Things are still kind of slugging along. I don't think, well, realistically, we're not in a ceasefire, but everybody says we're still in the ceasefire. There's still stuff being shot at, and things are starting to wind up for something. So we have a nuclear submarine, referred to as a boomer for those of you guys who are knowledgeable on military naval vessels. The USS Alaska. It popped itself up in the sea, Mediterranean Sea, just to show everybody that it's there, which is kind of unheard of because submarines are stealthy and they're designed to move quietly and nobody knows where they are. So for a submarine like that to pop up, wave its flag and go, "Hey dude, here we are," that's kind of a big deal. So the USS Alaska's, it's right off the coast of Gibraltar, and this was a couple of days ago, so I'm sure that they are now steaming toward the Gulf of Oman or the Strait of Hormuz or whatever. So that's kind of a big deal. Iran sent yet another proposal. So there's so many of these proposals going back and forth, I don't even know if we need to bother to talk about it, but of course it was rejected by Trump. Totally unacceptable, or whatever phrase he uses. I don't know if we need to bother with some of the mechanics of this going back and forth, whether somebody went to Islamabad or somebody sent a proposal or whatever. Trump's not going to accept anything less than complete capitulation, total surrender, give me everything I want, which is never going to happen. Not sure the point of all these proposals, so we'll see about that. Let me see. We got Benjamin Netanyahu did a interview on 60 Minutes that was glowing, to say the least. And if you watch that thing, I think we all know now who really is in charge. It's like he made it pretty clear that he was the one in charge of the criteria for a surrender, ceasefire, and we actually have to go in and get the uranium with boots on the ground, and I'm pretty sure those boots are going to be American. So it seemed pretty obvious to me. I don't know, honey, what you saw of it, but he's in charge. There was no pushback. Now you've got CBS is now owned by Larry Ellison, who is a monster contributor to AIPAC and a huge Zionist, and so obviously Netanyahu got the kid gloves treatment, so to speak, and looks like he's in charge to me, not Trump.
Yeah. Well, he's the one who opened his mouth and had the courage to say, boots on the ground is almost a certainty if you want to get the job done, and it won't be Israeli boots, right? So, I guess I'll say this, and I want to be careful. I don't have any affection for Bibi Netanyahu. But the fact that he spoke out and he spoke straight, and he didn't care what y'all thought, but he told you exactly what you needed to hear. He told you his quote unquote truth. He already has more credibility, and people will actually pay more attention to what he says than Trump and Hegseth, because they're blowhards and they lie all the time and they're just not believable. So interestingly, despite what you think of the guy, I actually now feel like I have a better sense of what's happening in Iran and what we should expect.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He seems to be more large and in charge than Trump, and that's for sure. I think he's evil.
Right.
But at least you know what he's doing. You know
right.
what his plan is. I don't think it's going to work. Yeah, if you're wondering where things are going to go, you look at what's best for Israel. And that's the way things are going to go. So I think it's best for Israel to have more chaos and to basically eliminate or unalive. You can't say the K word, I guess. You're going to unalive as many Iranians, Lebanese, Palestinians, Syrians as you can, in the hopes of Israel getting more and more land.
Yeah.
Which means ain't gonna be no ceasefire. It is gonna be boots on the ground. That's
No.
now you compare that against Trump's predilection to chicken out with the taco. Maybe he'll chicken out, but if I had a bet, I'd bet on whatever's best for Israel. That's what will happen.
Well, the other thing I'm thinking about too, as you say that, is that once he got the okay from Trump to go in, he knew he had Trump and he had us exactly where he wanted because he knows darn well Trump's not going to back out until he can claim a victory, right? So Netanyahu is pretty happy right now because, and he can sit back and just say, well, hey, US, you better go ahead and finish the job because I'm busy. I'm busy in Lebanon and the West Bank getting more land and doing terrible things to people. So,
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
sucker Trump.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean,
Total
you don't want
sucker.
you don't want to forgive Trump of his agency. He still made the decision.
Well,
You know,
yeah, but
all
he's
the
a sucker. You know,
all
he
the
fell for it. All those other presidents we had were wise enough, were smart enough to, figure out that it wouldn't be a winning proposition to,
Yep.
attack Iran, except
Yep.
for Trump,
Yep.
because he's an idiot.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just hearing more scuttlebutt also that Trump's just generally getting more frustrated. I think he wanted some action. He wanted some action, before he went on his trip. I think he's in flight right now to go to China. I think
He
he
is.
wants something done. He wanted something done either before he left or while he's talking to Xi Jinping in China, so he can say, "Hey, look what I did." But I'm just general more frustrated with why things aren't done. Why is this taking so long? That sort of stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if it means anything, but I don't know. That's what it is. And then one thing that speaking of Israel again, they have an election as well. I know we talked about the midterms, and everybody's saying, well, just wait till the midterms, and hopefully Trump will be neutered or whatever. Israel also has an election in October. I have the faintest idea how Netanyahu will do. I mean, the polls I'm seeing is that a large majority of Israelis are in favor, so I would think that he wouldn't have any problem getting reelected, but I don't know. You never know.
Well, since there's a war going on and they support the war, as I understand, maybe 90% of them support the war against Iran, and he got the support of America. So they probably want him to finish the job. The question might be more about his health, right?
Yeah, he has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. I think it's just maybe stage 1 or early.
Okay.
Nothing critical. He looked a
All
little
right.
peaked on 60 Minutes. He had pancaked a lot of makeup on there,
All right.
and he looked tired.
So something else that he and Trump have in common, maybe they share, makeup tips.
Anyway,
I'm being really, I'm really snarly right now. Sorry.
yeah. You wanna just start riffing? That's fine.
Yeah, seriously, damn.
And then I got some news on a different war. We should just call this the war section. So there was a temporary ceasefire in the Ukraine-Russian war over the weekend for Victory Day. Russia has its annual parade, and they wanted to have it without actually being at war, I guess, whatever. And they did in a prisoner exchange of 1,000 prisoners each. So
Okay.
they did take a break for a few days. It's now Tuesday. Maybe they fired everything up again, but
Maybe
they
they're
did take
back at it.
they did take a few days off.
Right. So can I add here to what you're saying? You had said last week that Putin was going underground and he was afraid that he was going to get assassinated, right? So what I read is that this big parade is something that Putin started and it's a big deal, but he was afraid to come out from his hiding. And that's why he asked Trump to ask Zelensky if he would agree to have a ceasefire for that one day for the parade. And so that they could have their parade safely.
Yep.
Honest to God, these are children.
Yeah.
So apparently Zelensky agreed. And they had their parade, and apparently the parade was like really lackluster. It was like just a
Mm-hmm.
45 minutes of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so so they agreed to a ceasefire so Putin could come out and attend the parade and then go back into his
Mm-hmm.
his den. And
Yeah, I think this. Well, we could talk about the Ukraine war another time, but yep. I don't know. I think Ukraine's turning it, but
they are.
Russia is so
I agree.
big. Russia's so
Mhm.
big, but
Yeah, those
I don't.
drones, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think I think Putin, they were very afraid of the drones reaching reaching the parade in Moscow.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
This is the new warfare.
Telling you.
Yep. Alrighty.
And what are we building? Oh yeah, Trump class destroyers, right?
Yes, we're gonna build.
Yeah. How
Still,
many
it's still,
drones
it's
do you
still, it's
think you
still
could get
nice
for
to.
one of those?
Yeah, I mean, it's still nice to be a naval power. That's always an advantage. I think it's more the Air Force and the naval aviators. That sort of stuff is gonna trim down. It's still good to be able to project naval power.
Mm.
So I mean, it's not like I'm a fan of the Trump frigate or
No, but
whatever it
even
is,
the
but
generals in the Navy, the admirals, they say
yeah,
you don't need a bigger boat. You
yeah.
need a lighter, swifter, agile,
Yeah, well,
nimble.
right. Yeah, as far
Yeah,
as just look at what Iran is doing. They're handling
right.
everything with swift boats and some drones, and
Yeah.
there you go. If you got
Okay.
you got a bigger bow, you just got a bigger target.
That's right. If it goes
So,
down, it goes down. Okay.
yep. All right. We going on to domestic issues here.
Domestic issues.
All right. So, how about we'll file this one under underwhelming item of the week? The UFO files have been released from the CIA, and yet another attempt to distract from the Epstein
Honey,
files. Hmm.
honey, the
Yeah.
truth is out there.
Okay, Scully. The truth is out there. Yes.
Doo-doo-doo.
So I've seen a few people who've read through these, and they're not really all that special. Any picture you've already seen is just in here. Any grainy picture of three lights over Utah or something. All that stuff that's been sort of either ignored or debunked, or no green men or anything, or gray men, I guess is what they are.
Okay.
Nothing about Area 51, so maybe something will come out that's a little more substantial. Trump now has two things to distract people from: the Epstein files and the war. So maybe we'll see more of this stuff. Maybe the Kennedy files will come out next. So anyway, the China trip though. Did you want to got anything to say about China? He's in
Yeah.
the air.
He's in the air. It's starting tomorrow. And tomorrow, I took a quick look at their itinerary. They're talking about the usual things with regards to the economy, and they're having a working lunch. And they're going to talk about semiconductors and Taiwan and the tariffs. Trade is a big deal. And the thing is, some commentators have been reflecting that, surprise, surprise, Trump is really going over there not not in a strong position, right? He's been weakened. So I would think now if you just compare, for example, a Reagan or even an Obama going over to sit down with the leader of China, during their administrations, they held respect and they were strong. Trump right now is really looked at globally as being weak. First of all, he's losing the Iran war. He's had failures. Our own SCOTUS has killed his tariff initiative, which is just dismal. And most recently, the 10%, they also got rid of that. And then also the polls, of course, show that the American population, 2/3 of them disapprove of him and his leadership. Xi Jinping is now looking at Trump as being a little bit, you've got a lot there, really. You're kind of weak from a leveraging standpoint. China is really holding their own. They're very strong. As you know, they have a very long horizon in terms of their plans and their purpose and goals. They're basically just standing back right now, looking at Trump and Hegseth making fools of themselves in Iran. And as the saying goes, they're just going to watch Trump basically implode with Iran, etc. So, and who knows with the election coming up in the midterms, despite the gerrymandering and that's been going on, they might lose control of the House. So I think China is really going to step back and just let Trump be Trump and let him make a fool of himself. And he will try to look out for his long-term goals for China. And by long-term, I mean 50 years out, trying to position it so that, basically they believe that America is going to fail as a country, as a global power. We're going to fail, especially with leaders like what we have. And so they're basically just sitting back and just biding their time, being very strategic and waiting to step in when we fall. So
Never interrupt your opponent while they're in the middle of making a mistake.
there you go. There you go. That would be smart. You don't have to lift a finger. Just stand back. Just get out of the way.
It was either von Clausewitz or Sun Tzu, one of those two.
Yeah. Someone smarter than I. I understand Elon Musk and Tim Cook are joining on the tech and economic discussions. Just saying. Is Elon Musk still taking that ketamine?
Probably.
And he's going to be in the same room as the leader of China and their billion or so. Yeah.
I gotta believe the Chinese Secret Service will handle anything that gets weird.
Yeah.
To follow up on your point here about weakness, Brazil just a couple days ago did something similar where, what's the guy's name? Lula, who's the president of Brazil, came to Washington, and Trump basically just told him, here, sign this agreement when it comes to minerals and other stuff. And Lula just laughed at him and said, no, we're open to all places. We're not going to get into a contract with you. We'll talk to China. We'll talk to anybody we want about our minerals. And anybody who wants to come here and invest in Brazil, we'll talk to them. We're not going to get locked into you. So the cracks are starting to show.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to do business with you. I'm okay.
Anyway, let's see. What do we got next? Virginia redistricting. Interesting. The Supreme Court of Virginia overturned it. Is that what I had read?
Yes. Okay. So the Supreme Court in the state Supreme Court of Virginia actually overturned it. And basically, they accused the Democratic controlled legislature of Virginia of improperly beginning the process of the redistricting and the vote on it too late. They said it was after voting had already started, which of course, apparently that's not an issue in other states in the South. But anyway, they actually made an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. Chief Roberts is actually responsible for the region of Virginia for any kind of emergency requests. SCOTUS, or Chief Roberts, has done is asked the Republicans in Virginia to file a response to the request from the Democrats by end of day Thursday. So by Friday, we'll have more information. Maybe we'll have more information. I know that Roberts will probably want to take some time, but we might have some more information about that.
I had heard that the guy from Maine, Platner, won the Democratic nomination for senator to run.
He did.
For senator. Yeah. Pretty sure.
Okay,
he
the
won.
guy with the tattoo.
Guy with the tattoo. Yes.
He'll be always known as the guy with the tattoo, with the Nazi tattoo.
Yeah, but if you listen to him, I'm sure you'd love him. He seems pretty
well,
new,
honey,
progressive
if we
and
could
stuff.
only trust everything that people say. Right?
We'll see.
We'll see. No, totally. I hope he means what he says. That'd be awesome.
Anyway, the reason I brought him up is that he had recommended that Virginia just do it because basically Ohio had the same problem a 3 years ago, and the Supreme Court rejected Ohio's redistricting. The Republicans did, and they just went ahead and did it. So Platner's saying, well, just do the same thing, man. Just screw your Supreme Court and just just ignore them and go with it and be done with it.
Yeah, what would do?
What would Trump do?
Honestly.
ED.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's getting vicious out there. The quorum is out the window.
Right.
All right. We got any more domestic
No, I
items.
think we're
Yeah.
good. I'm just watching the clock as well, hon.
Yep. Alrighty. We got a short business report. Looks like the price of gas at our corner gas station is up 4 cents. It was been 4.94 for a week and a half. Now it's at 4.98. And down the street, we get into the city of Chicago. It's at 5.15, and if you go north from us, also it's over $5. So our local gas station is holding firm at 4.98.
Under 5.
Yeah,
But
holding
honey,
firm at under 5.
they have a Dunkin' Donuts attached, so they're making money the other way.
They're subsidizing their gas losses by
That's
selling
right.
donuts and coffee to
We
everybody.
might lose a few cents on the gas, but hey, we'll make it up in lattes.
Yes, it'll be a sad day when the BP goes over $5.
Right.
All right. Anyway, let's see. How about what I okay? We done. It was a short business report. All right, so
That's okay.
I got a couple of miscellaneous things that I noticed. Honduras-Gate. Google it.
Yeah. It's the biggest story that nobody's talking about.
Yeah, this seemed like a pretty big thing. I guess that it's a sign of the times that there's just so much weirdness that it just you can't just absorb everything, back when we used to have one big story a month,
A week.
at best, and now they're coming out every day here. So there's something called Honduras-Gate, and basically it's some recordings of a plot, basically a transnational plot of the U.S. and Israel to destabilize left-leaning governments in North America and Central America. So they're specifically targeting Mexico, Honduras, and Colombia with some sort of destabilization plan. I don't quite know exactly what they plan on doing, but they're actively going after left-leaning governments to try to topple
We've never
them.
done that before, have we?
Yeah, they're taking a page out of Alan Dulles' playbook.
Vietnam?
You don't like it. You don't like it. Just stage a coup, which is how we got in this mess with Iran in the first place. So go look up the coup of 1953 in Iran, staged by the CIA. So here you've got, I guess maybe the CIA is involved with this, and Mossad probably trying to, get friendlier governments in the Central America. So I'm not
Like
sure.
more right wing. So friendlier for Honduras means the leader who became a huge drug trafficker who we actually threw in jail and then Trump pardoned a few months ago.
Yeah. God bless America. So anyway, we'll see how this goes. Keep your ears peeled. If you want to read up on it, Google Honduras-Gate and see what it tells you. All right, so another thing I saw is that Microsoft fired its Israeli subsidiary, the head of its Israeli subsidiary, mainly because they were allowing the Unit 8200. I don't know if you've heard of Unit 8200, which I'm not even sure what it is. It's like the internal Stasi, internal SS of Israel.
What?
Not Mossad. It's more like the internal FBI, I guess, of Israel.
Really?
Anyway, they've so Google that Unit 8200, and they've used Azure cloud services, which for those of you that aren't tech savvy, Microsoft provides cloud services. It's called Azure, Azure, and Microsoft allowed Unit 8200 to save all the surveillance data on Palestinians and other dissidents, I guess, on their Azure servers, and they were not supposed to do that. So, phone calls and tracking and conversation recordings and videos and stuff, they're all stored on the cloud services for Microsoft, which was against Microsoft policy. So,
Do you know? I'm
a
sorry.
few guys got fired.
Sorry. Why would Microsoft care about information that is stored?
Data's data. They're getting paid, right? Well, they got a conscience, maybe.
Okay.
They know that the tide is turning against Israel, and they don't want to be political. No, that you're right. So if if they're helping Israel save all this data, then they're helping monitor
Helping them track and monitor and hunt down potentially Palestinians, going back to our original.
Yeah, and a lot of people that use their services are not happy about what's happening to the Palestinians.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and then it was against policy as well. Let's see. JD Vance got shot at. I don't know if this even made the news. JD Vance's motorcade got fired upon last Wednesday. We should have caught this for our Friday show, but saw a man from Texas, Michael Marks. I don't quite know exactly what his goal was or what he was trying to accomplish or why he wanted to shoot JD Vance, but some kid got winged. A 15-year-old kid got nicked, not killed, and then the guy got arrested. I don't quite know his exact intentions, but they're firing at Trump and JD Vance.
Okay. So let's just pause a moment. What does that say about us as a country, or even what does it say about JD Vance that he gets shot at and it's like no big?
Well, in general, every president, I don't know about the vice presidents, but every president's gotten shot at. They were saying that so the guy that went after Trump, and he didn't really get that close, but so if you count that as being an assassination attempt, then Barack Obama probably had 15 assassination attempts against him. There were guys who tried to get that close and only got as close as this guy did. They didn't even say a word about it because the Secret Service handled it. But yeah, so this stuff will happen. It seems like it's happening more and more, and they're getting closer. It's starting. You're right. It's starting to just not be a big deal when it used to be a big deal. And now it's just with so many school shootings and other mass shootings and so many guns, and everybody's just like, it's just another day in the neighborhood, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a sad statement.
Yeah,
sad reflection on us as a society, I guess.
Yeah, now they're taking shots at the vice president, which I don't think the vice president nobody really cares about the vice president.
Well, that was kind of what I was getting at too. It's like, he's a human being. He's a wife and children, and I'm surprised there wasn't more made of it in the press.
Yeah. I stopped trying to figure out what the corporate media, what their priorities are.
Yeah.
And the last thing I noticed was North Korea. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Asia that we don't even care about because we are all focused on, the Strait of Hormuz and all that. And over on the other side of the world, which is where Trump is going right now, there's stuff going on. And so one of the things is that North Korea just basically rewrote their constitution, and it puts their president, Kim, in charge of the nuclear codes and the nuclear option. He's the only one who can do it. And they've also written it, if there's any sort of assassination attempt on him, it's mandatory that they send out a nuclear response. If somebody takes a pot shot at him, somebody's going to get nuked. So I don't know who, but seemed pretty drastic to me.
That is crazy. I mean, but it doesn't remind you of Putin. I mean, it sounds like we have these leaders who do bad things, and quite appropriately, they're afraid of being assassinated or killed in some way.
Right. These mutually assured destruction is supposed to be the one deterrent that keeps things from happening. So, but now I'm really wondering about the various alliances and allegiances. So if North Korea sends a nuke to America, I don't think anybody else would help us, right? Or well, we have nukes, but let's say they shoot into South Korea, right? So I don't think South Korea has nukes. So we're supposed to defend South Korea, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, I don't think we would, or I'm not sure we would.
That's a good question in this.
The mutually assured destruction element is kind of going to the side. Also, it seems like North Korea is moving some military equipment into the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, but North and South Korea are still at war with each other. They've had
Are they having a ceasefire too?
They've had a 70-year ceasefire. The war isn't technically over.
I hope that's not going to be us with Iran.
Yeah, so anyway, we'll see. But some crazy stuff is starting, some activity over on the Asia side of the world.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're a strong man, authoritarian leader, and you're watching all the other, new authoritarian leaders coming up in the world, maybe you're thinking, I need to have a war as well. Maybe I need to get more attention because, I want people to respect me.
Now would be the time. Yeah, I personally think that I said China is going to make a run, somehow make a run at Taiwan. Maybe their
Mm,
navy, the Chinese navy is so, but they may do something else or maybe just buy them out or something.
mm,
So,
honestly.
so we'll see. And it's also not unreasonable to think that North and South Korea would go back at it. Maybe people who know more about Korea would disagree, but it's not
Mm,
unreasonable to think that something might fire up again.
no, true. True. Well, I think that's all we have for today, hon.
Got a short episode.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We
Yeah,
are
thank you.
available now on YouTube, by the way, as an audio only podcast. Do please follow us. And of course, if you know anybody who would enjoy us, please do share the podcast with them.
And
So,
thank you for listening.
all right, goodbye.